Hello, I'm Dr. Gauri Bhede and I'm a medical oncologist. Welcome to my health and wellness channel. I grew up in India and fasting for religious reasons is a way of life. A lot of people have a special day of the week where they fast with the intention of pleasing a particular deity. Sometimes they fast a couple of times a week. As children, we always looked forward to the grown ups' fasting days because there was a special food that either would usher in or break the fast. And to this day, these are some of my favorite meals. Calorie wise, it didn't make any sense as these foods were starch heavy and it seemed ritualistic. I was a rebellious child and I did not like rituals. Now, with fasting for weight management becoming more popular, I realized that the ritualistic fasting likely served a health benefit. So, even if the sanctioned foods were not light, the prolonged period of no consumption was likely resetting some metabolic processes. As we all know, weight management is a multi billion-dollar industry in the United States. I've always been conscious of calorie intake and expenditure, have exercised regularly, but however much I counted calories or points or grams or increased protein and decreased carbs or cut out bread, weight has always been an issue. Then a scientist friend of mine who is skeptical of fats told me about intermittent fasting, and I decided to give it a shot. My husband and I started intermittent fasting, and the results have been quite satisfactory. I found this review paper on intermittent fasting in the New England Journal of Medicine. It's a comprehensive review of animal and human studies and outlines the medical benefits of intermittent fasting and the possible mechanisms. I will put a link to the paper in the comments below if you would like to read it for yourself. The health benefits are not just because we eat fewer calories and can lose weight. During intermittent fasting, our metabolism switches from using liver derived glucose to ketones derived from fatty tissues. Glucose and fatty acids are the main energy source for our cells. When we eat, glucose is used for energy and the fat is stored in fatty tissue as triglycerides. When we fast, triglycerides are mobilized from fatty tissue and are broken down to fatty acids and glycerol. The liver breaks down the fatty acids to ketone bodies, which then provide the energy source to the cells. That's one pathway to mobilize fat. There are other benefits to mobilizing ketone bodies. Ketone bodies provide important metabolic signals for proteins and molecules that influence health and aging. In addition, they stimulate the expression of the gene for brain derived neurotrophic factors. These are peptides that support the development and growth of neurons. Several studies have shown that intermittent fasting improves working memory, executive function, and global cognition in people with mild impairment and obesity. More studies are needed. Cells respond to intermittent fasting with an adaptive stress response. This includes increased antioxidant defenses, DNA repair, and downregulation of inflammation. These responses enable cells to remove oxidatively damaged proteins and mitochondria and recycle undamaged molecular constituents. The combination of these molecular effects have a beneficial effect on multiple health conditions. The beneficial effects on diabetes are not seen just because of decreased calorie intake. In a trial of intermittent fasting versus decreased calorie intake, the two groups lost the equivalent amount of weight, but the intermittent fasting group showed increased insulin sensitivity as well as decreased waist circumference. And we know it's the belly fat which is the worst fat. Regarding cardiovascular health, there was improvement in blood pressure, in resting heart rate, in levels of high density and low density lipoprotein and cholesterol and triglycerides. In addition, intermittent fasting reduces the markers of systemic inflammation and oxidative stress, which are associated with atherosclerosis. The benefits are seen in normal weight and overweight adults, However, the benefits dissipate when a normal diet is resumed. Asthma showed an improvement in symptoms, and this reduction in symptoms was associated with significant reductions in serum levels of markers of inflammation and oxidative stress. Other conditions which would also benefit from decreased inflammatory markers would include inflammatory arthritis, and studies have shown improvement in rheumatoid arthritis. Multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune condition which results in demyelination of axons and neuron damage. Studies have shown reduced symptoms in as short a period as 2 months. In cancer, animal studies have shown a decreased incidence of spontaneous tumors, impaired metabolism of cancer cells, and strengthening the stress resistance of normal cells. Human studies are underway mainly to study compliance, side effects, and biomarkers. No studies so far about the benefit of recurrence rates. So, does intermittent fasting have negative physical effects? There was a study in which young men were on a 16-hour daily fast with ongoing resistance training, and they were able to maintain muscle mass and lose body fat. There was a recent study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association that found some loss of muscle mass, but there's been criticism of the design and duration of this study. What are the fasting schedules? Commonly, there are two. One is a daily restriction of the time frame in which you can eat, mainly to fast for 16 to 18 hours a day and restrict your eating to an 8-hour window. The second is to fast for 2 non-consecutive 24-hour day periods in a week, restricting calorie intake to 500 calories on those days. One can gradually work up to that schedule. I have found the 16 hours off and 8 hours on to be the simplest for me. The 16 hours can dovetail very conveniently with giving up one meal, ideally dinner. But our social meal is dinner, so I gave up breakfast. Giving up breakfast went against all my previous knowledge that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but I found that that was easier than going to bed hungry and then succumbing to a late night snack. My husband chose 2 days a week of a 24-hour fast. The challenge is that we are socially conditioned to eat 3 meals a day and snack in between. And initially, fasting can cause hunger, irritability, a reduced ability to concentrate, but keep at it because your body will get used to it and the symptoms will resolve in a month. Both my husband and I were able to lose weight and keep it down. I've found that even when noontime comes and I am allowed to have lunch, I'm often busy, and the 16 hours of fasting stretches to 18 hours without much difficulty. I'm careful to eat moderately in my 8-hour window, but I don't have to be an accountant or a mathematician for food choices. It is well known that even when diets work, if they're not sustainable, then they don't work long term. For me, I've found intermittent fasting to be the only way of instituting long term changes. I hope you found this information useful. Please do hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more interesting and useful information coming your way. Thank you for watching.